Hey guys, I am out this week, so I'm going to have you do video notes in class today so you can watch in small groups, or if you have headphones, you can do that as well. So we're going to cover 2.10 standard, and that is going to be causes of migration. So we'll go ahead and blow this up so you can get your notes ready. So the big question that we are answering throughout this standard is going to be, why do people migrate? Okay, so if you need to pause the video there, at the bottom, you might be able to see that too well. That's Ravenstein's law, and you will not need to write those down. There should be a handout with the sub today for you to tape or staple those to the back of these notes that you typed today. Okay, so go ahead and pause if you need to, and then we'll get going. All right, so why do people migrate? So we're going to talk about causes of migration. The first thing that you need to know is the difference between immigration and immigration. So just remember that if it's immigration, people are leaving a country, they're exiting. So E stands for exit. And then if they are immigrating into a country, they are coming into a country. And make sure that you understand what net migration is. I know my square's in the way there, but that is immigration minus immigration. Okay, so that is the amount of immigrants leaving a country and the amount of people coming into a country, and you subtract those from each other to get a net migration. Okay. So the demographic balancing equation just takes it one step further, and that is going to be your deaths minus births in a country for your natural increase plus the net migration. So that is a demographic balancing equation. And so it's really hard to keep an accuracy on this to predict population futures because so many people are migrating from developing countries into developed countries. Okay, so types of migration, make sure you know that they are either push or pull factors. Okay, so a push factor is when you are leaving a country, you're being pushed out. And then a pull factor is you're being pulled in. There's something enticing into the country that you want. Maybe it's a job or it's a pleasant climate that you prefer. And so just know some basic examples of what a push and a pull factor might lead people to a different country. All right, we can apply these push factors and pull factors to economic, social, political, environment, and even demographics. Okay, on these are basically snippets out of your AMSCO book. So I probably won't read all these, but when you do go over them and in your readings, you can definitely pull some of those examples out and fill in here. So these are economic push and pull factors. I will mention a really good example here is when the automobile industry is up in the Rust Belt there around Michigan and Pennsylvania. When those industries were outsourced into other countries, that area dried up and there were no jobs. So a lot of them were pushed out, right, to find new jobs, and they were pulled into areas in the South where there were new developing tech jobs and defense jobs. Okay, so those are two good examples to use there. Another example of push-pull factors can be associated with social or cultural. Okay, and this example, again, out of your book, revolves around the Mormon migration. So Mormons actually originated in more of the Midwest, Illinois and Missouri, and they left there because of violence, and they were pulled into Utah, which is where at the time lots of land was cheap there, and there was agricultural opportunities. So that would be a pull factor. All right, a political push and pull factors. They do use Cuba in your book as a push and pull factor as well. When Cubans were escaping Fidel Castro's regime, they were being pushed out. A lot of them ended up in Florida and Miami because it was very close to the island of Cuba. And there were lots of places to seek asylum there and jobs. So that would be an example of political. And then last is going to be environmental push and pull factors. And I often use the natural disaster of Hurricane Katrina, pushed people out of New Orleans. Okay. And here, you could also say a pull factor is to a very ideal or pleasant climate that somebody would be pulled to a different location for. Oh, I forgot about demographic. Demographic, these are also, they use farmers as an example in your book. So farmers in Europe, they also use young, educated people in less developed countries, especially in Latin America, as a push factor. Many people in less developed countries live in areas where population is growing very quickly and unemployment and underemployment is very high. And then pull factors will be developed countries in North America and Europe with aging populations. They need more workers. So that would be a pull factor is people going in to build that workforce, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, you're going to actually draw in this migration theory called Lee's model. And so what it is just it's showing intervening obstacles. So if you have someone wanting to migrate from point A to point B, right? So that's kind of your green circle and then your orange circle or yellow circle. In between those 2 points, right, there's going to be positives and negatives for leaving and positive and negatives for the new destination. But in between those 2 points where they're leaving and their destination is, there's going to be obstacles in the way. And these are referred to as intervening obstacles. And so this whole model is called Lee's push and pull migration model. Okay. But when you have that little line that looks like jagged mountain range, that's going to be your intervening obstacles. Now, we can also give examples of intervening obstacles as far as how they can be economic, social, political, and environment. Again, another snippet from your book. And an example of an economic intervening obstacle would be when a migrant doesn't have enough money to get to his destination. A social example could be, people that he meets along the way, or this actually has this migrant getting married to someone along the migration route, which is kind of cute. And then a political intervening obstacle could be when a migrant can't get a visa to enter a new country, right, because of laws. And then an environmental intervening obstacle could be when a migrant can't cross like a piece of landscape, or it could be distance, such as a sea, a desert, or a mountain. That would be an environmental intervening obstacle. All right, and the last here is Ravenstein's laws of migration. So Ravenstein was a British sociologist in the 1800s and early 1900s, and he went through these laws that are just really common trends that he saw in Great Britain. So again, you don't need to write all these down because there will be a handout when you go in on Wednesday, and you can paste that on the back of your notes. But really quickly, it's just that the first law is most migrants go only a short distance. So you want to think about that distance decay concept that we learned in Unit 1. And then the second law is most migrants proceed step by step. That's going to apply more to Lee's model that you just learned. And then if they don't move a long distance, they are likely to travel to a big city. This is going to be more about the gravity model, which you'll read about in your book. And then law 4 is every migration flow produces a counterflow. And so I can use Mexico as an example of this. So a lot of Mexicans enter the US to look for better opportunities, but we also see a counterflow of Americans going to Mexico, maybe on travel vacation, or to even retire there because it's warmer, closer to the equator. All right, and then that fifth law is going to be most migration is going to be from the country to the city, so rural from urban. And then law 6 is families are less likely to make international moves than young adults. So you don't see large families trying to cross international borders and country lines. That's usually going to be young people, mostly single. And then that last law 7 is most international migrants are going to be young males. Okay. That has changed over time. You start to see women migrating more than in the past. And it does say that women comprise about 40 to 60% of international migrants. So kind of interesting stat there. All right, guys, I think that is it. Yep, it is sure is. That's it for today. And you'll also need to work on your workbook page 18 today. All right, guys, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be available on Schoology most today. All right, have a good one.